We're very happy to have a group of experts in this room. They participate our program in different perspectives. They participate as different roles. So that is the reason why we are here celebrating the success, but also have a deliberation with different aspects, different perspectives, so that we can understand more about the nature of professional development in this contextual setting. So firstly, we want to invite the Dr. Chen Jianhan as the representative of the professional development participants. Dr. Chen. The question to Dr. Chen, let me just announce it. We want to ask him, reflecting on his experiences with the EMI training, what specific strategies or practices have you found most effective in fostering collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking in your classroom? And how could these be further refined to address the diverse needs of your students? Yes. Wow. Well prepared.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Fan, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chen Han Chen from NTUE. So today I'm sharing on this topic, okay? So as you can see, my question is about collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. But actually, I want to add one more thing, that is communication. So usually in PBL or in any innovation education field, we talk about those four C's. Okay, so I'll give you some example in my EMI course. Okay, so first of all, in the morning, I'm honored to have two commenters. Okay, from Dr. Li Yueyu and Dr. Zhong Zhili. Okay, and I demonstrate my teacher education course of international education. So I think it is very easy to connect with EMI because in this course, my students need to use English to connect to the world. Okay, so when they are talking about global issues or when they are interacting with the partners of other universities, okay, in the world. Okay, so let me give you some examples. For example. As a routine, I always ask my students this question: what kind of international news do you hear about recently? Then we will start to discuss the news pieces of their interest. Okay, for example, this morning we talked in the teaching demonstration, we talked about this very famous picture of a politician holding a gun, right? Okay, against a soldier in South Korea. Okay, then we will start from a CNN report. There are paragraphs underneath, and there will be a video expressing this kind of emergency situation in South Korea. Okay, so this is actually an example of critical thinking. When students were looking at this picture, I will ask them about why do you think, okay, about this situation? So who are those people? Okay, who is this woman, and who are those soldiers, and what are they doing? So they will think about it and try to connect to the news. Okay, and actually we have discussed some international education frameworks as well as SDGs. So those are also critical for my students because they are not only thinking about the global events, they are also analyze those global events, and they also need to think about how they will transform those global knowledge into elementary school teaching. Okay, because my students, they are future elementary school teachers. Okay, so I'm sharing with you my learning platform. So how to organize and design the EMI course is very critical for me. For example, I will use the intended outcome, backward design, or we call public product in PBL, and I actually emphasize four C's: communication, critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, just like we mentioned. okay, in the beginning. Okay, so we do need to plan. Okay, so for most of you, just like me, we are participants of this PD program, so we design our classes. Okay, and the one thing very special is I have international students in my class. Okay, so I remember in the PD video, there's a section about intercultural learning, and the professor in the video was introducing this idea. I was thinking like, wow, this is exactly like in my class. Okay, I have international students. Then I do have 7 international students. So I try to arrange those international students with Taiwanese students so they will discuss, communicate, even collaborate with each other. Okay, so we even play board games about SDG together. Okay, in English. Okay. And there's a connection. I also have an online communication with another university in Brazil, okay, São Paulo University. So we do this kind of pellet communication. And actually in pellet communication, I encourage them to do creative online communication. So the students in my class, they are not only communicate, they actually need to be creative, to show their ideas about education, about their thoughts. Okay, and this is from one of the teacher education students from São Paulo. Okay, so for each part, okay, we all use very creative, multimodal way to express our own thoughts. Okay, so in the end, back to my class, I have a midterm issue report. So those are the international students from Switzerland, and they introduce glacier. Okay, so we often think, wow, Switzerland is so beautiful, right? And the glaciers are so beautiful. But actually, we were discussing the retreat of the glacier, because the glacier is melting because of global warming. So we need to critically analyze the reason too. Okay, so that is critical thinking. And in the end, after we have some issue reports, we analyze those issues, we get to know the real content of the issue. Then we think about how we transform it into elementary school teaching, because our students are elementary school students. So we are not lecturing like an adult. So we need to transform those knowledge skills. Okay, so we are now working on that. So my students have some very creative, brilliant teaching ideas to let the elementary school students experience right in the class, experience that, for example, the glacial crisis. They can experience that in the class. Okay, so in the end, I really hope Dr. Fan's opening remark, because through EMI, that is a great chance for us to look back to the essence, the essential parts of our teaching. Okay, we have a brand new opportunity to look back to our teaching and think about why and how we should teach through EMI. Okay, so that is a great chance for me. And in the end, I also like this. I want to emphasize this inclusive environment, because my students, they are not always very proficient in English. So some students will also say, teacher, my English is very bad in class. But I always encourage them, in my class, there's no such thing as bad English, as long as you can challenge yourself and you will improve. Okay, that is the goal of my EMI class. Okay, so maybe we can think about Maslow before Bloom. Okay, we'll also talk about these things, right? But we will need to take care of students' psychological, factors, before we really want to teach them something. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chan, for your wonderful elaboration on the strategies that you use with various of setting and various of application. You use all kinds of grouping skills and touch on the topics of international education, incorporate the real life scenarios to the classroom, and then reinforce the collaboration, creativity, critical thinking with another C, communication, to build up with the 4C skill in the classroom, and you even bookended what we talked about this morning. Great job, thank you so much. And I think that one key message, which is really powerful from Dr. Chen, is Maslow before Bloom. Because when we are taking care of our students to move on to the journey to EMI, although our students are adults, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be scared. So I really love the final touch of this, and that's something we really need to take away today. Thank you very much, Professor King. Thank you. Coming up with the second question, I will want to give the question to Dr. Wang, who actually is a participant or our off-site training to University of Texas at Austin participants. And the question is, based on your involvement in the professional learning community and teaching demonstration classrooms, what were the most valuable takeaways for improving teaching practices? And how might these insights inform the development of similar programs at other institutions? Professor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Fan, on the introduction. So I think some audience were here in the previous the session. So what you know, we just got back from the UT Austin this summer. So we just said that we checked the summer in UT Austin. For me, we only have 5 minutes without the slides, so I will have another slide for you, not like Dr. Chen, well prepared, but that's okay. So here I just want to share my experience, what I have learned from PLC. When we say the PLC, probably everyone knows what the PLC, right? Professional Learning Community. So when you say the professional, that's a lot of rolling on my shoulder. Because when people think you are the professional, they mean like you learn a lot. Actually, when I go to UT Austin, I know the last and then the last. So I have so much to learn. So from that, the 2 weeks in UT Austin and the previous online course, and then when I got back, I really learned a lot from the course, even from the summer to now. I'm still keep learning. Therefore, there are 3 key points I want to share with you. The first key point I learned is collaboration with the peers. So we highlight so many shared experience with the peers lead to perspective and solve the different problems. So you always think that you know everything, but actually, maybe you can solve the problem, but you only use solve the problem only use your own way. But we have with so many different field professionals, they provide you so many different ways to solve the problem and teach the students. That's why the key point I learned, cooperation with the peers and learn from others. The second part I think that's important is adaptive teaching strategy and working in real classroom. Because so many times we are working online, but the online is still different in the real classroom. So we have more interaction with the students. So how can we engage with students? I think that is quite important. So we always told the students, that's just the Dr. Chen mentions. It's not a bad English in the class. It's not stupid question in the classroom as well, because the Taiwanese student really shy to raise their hand. Even we are sometimes shy because we don't want to someone focus us. But the same thing I told the students, just like a strategy the Dr. mentions, if you practice, you got the gift. So the same thing, I use the same strategy. I encourage them. It's not a gift, but I give them a different reward for them. Yeah, sometimes I buy them a lunch. Yeah, it depends what kind of questions, but it's not always like that. I just try to open their mind or open their head to raise their head. So that's why I want to share the key point, the second. The third part, I want to remind all of us. I think some of faculty are here. So when we are in educator, teacher, professor, whatever, we have to understand the student centers have to be focused. Yes, you are on the stage, but you should understand the target is the students. So student center is quite important. So that's why I always told myself to observe under the professor, adopting the teaching and the make different, because different students are from a different way, they have a diverse students. So diverse student, the needs are different. So we have to really adopt the different students' needs. That's quite important. So I have to remind myself, student center are really important. I have to keep it in my mind, not myself, what I want to teach, but I have to focus on that. And at the end, I want to have a recommendation. Yes, so I think I want to promote the peer observation is quite important. Although I don't want to everyone observe my class, but I still want to encourage everyone. You should try, and then anyone in your class, they will give you the positive feedback. They are not going to challenge you or negative you, but they just want to give you positive the feedback and give you really reinforce the idea, the teaching experience. I think the teaching journey is really long time to go, and the best is take the cooperation with others. That's for my sharing experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wong, for your wonderful insight. He started with the more I know that I don't know, right? Who also said this, I remember it was from Socrates, right? So that is actually something that we as a professional understand. We understand that the refinement has no end. We understand that in our classroom, there's only one way we know if we did a good job. And we have that self-monitoring. It is because we have standards. And into that, we are fulfilling our mission and our vision as an educator, rather than just an instructor that also we mentioned with our previous session by Dr. Zhao, right? So that is very thought-provoking, and with the student-centered diverse students' needs in mind, we understand our students' needs are broadening our understanding of teaching. They're not here for us to give us a hard time, but help us to understand more about what learning is about, what make meanings, what make it valuable with the practices that we do every day. Otherwise, there's so many things can replace us, right? So thank you so much for your insight and your deepest reflection. We appreciate that so much. And I think that Dr. Wang is definitely muscle more than and before Bloom, because she even buy lunch to her students, right? That's something really, really amazing. Thank you so much as being a kind and caring educator, Dr. Wang. Thank you so much. Dr. Xie, you're also one of the participants of our OUTA program. I would like to ask you that reflecting on the mentoring program and its integration with your classroom observation, you actually did more than one. How did these experiences influence your teaching mindsets and strategies? And what aspects of mentoring and observation could be enhanced to better support future participants? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fan. It's my pleasure to sit in here, and this question actually asked me the mentoring program and interactive with the classroom observation, whether it influenced my teaching or not. Actually, my colleague or my friend attended my observation. I want to ask them, please raise your hand whether they really, yes, so you see the huge difference, improvement, okay, from me. So actually, I summarized several points for you guys. Okay, the first of all, I really think the all-time experience from United States I gained actually improved me like the most of all is the pedagogy. Yes, I can do the refinement of pedagogical technique. Actually, we have learned EMI for ODIR and for DPAE. This is all abbreviation, and also we have a Bloom taxonomy and 6 stage. So you have to establish or scaffolding your framework to teach in your classroom, so then you can follow very well. And this is not happened before. Before I really learned the EMI, so I really enjoy teaching EMI right now following the specific structure, and I can guide student for specific detail and state by state. Even I can control every measurement, and also I ask my TA. Usually I have 2 TA for my PhD student as my TA. So that's why I can control and manage your time very well. And speaking to my mentor, actually my mentor is Sarah. So Sarah is very active, energetic. Yeah, and previously I feel, wow, so shocked. How can I learn something from her? But actually, we met 3 times online, and then she guided me very well. And I really remind in the future, if you want to join this program, you are the leader. You have to guide your mentor to organize your project or program, and let her know what's going on with your teaching or lesson plan, and so that you can have a very good communication with the mentor. So second one, I want to focus of the student-centered approach. Yeah, as I mentioned, student to student, and teacher to student, and also include TA. TA is very important, and they play a role of the peer, and then they usually understand what the student thinking, and also you can actually bring up or think about what strategy with your TA, and together work out with your EMI program. And then I really think that the collaborative reflection session, actually from our EMI, we know a lot of the people from our classroom, and they are very sincere, committed, dedicated. So this is very important social support. And then you can have a group and meeting sometimes, and also we're not doing the EMI. We also doing some research. For example, there are many questions and also many gaps you can identify for your teaching project research, 教学实践计划. Okay, so we can bring it to your research, not just teaching and research and service. So in this case, I bring all aspects and together establish the friendship, and together develop my future teaching and research, and also I enjoy the friendship with my friends. And the last one, of course, the AI. Yes, I emphasize, like previously, the professors mentioned a lot of AI, so I don't want to mention over here, and I just want to say AI can actually facilitate your thinking, your creative, and also you will think about the teaching is not difficult, and also expanding your vision and expanding your imagination. And no one was born to speak English or either to teach EMI. So this is very good strategy, and provided and guided by my mentor and also classroom observation. So above is my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Xie. I think what Dr. Xie just mentioned also echoes reticence to what Dr. Tang today mentions, that great teachers are made, not born. So we're here to learn. And I think that from the insights from Dr. Xie actually help us to understand that teaching demonstration is not a show. And when you are returning the autonomy to students to learn and break down the learning activity into biteable size, actually your classroom is more manageable. A lot of teachers do not believe when you are having students to do a lot of activity, they think that it will be really chaotic. They don't believe that students can really discuss. They don't think that they are having progress. But as long as you manage that into a manageable size, your classroom is even more manageable, right? So that is one key message that I got here. And also with the student-centered approach that Professor Xie also mentions, that when he was working with his mentor, he's actually taking the lead. And that means that he's actually taking the responsibility. So whenever you're giving your students the chance to take the lead, you're actually returning back the responsibility and also the opportunity for them to learn by themselves. So I think that is actually something that really empowers them a lot. So we're experiencing a process as a student as well. So when we reflect from our experiences, we really understand what that student center means here, and we appreciate that. And togetherly, what Professor Xie mentions that in the classroom it's not just about you, there are students, and how can TA play its role to help us here is something that we can also think about. And also AI, all kinds of tools, devices, are they hindering learning or are they facilitators for learning? That's something that we can think to make a synergistic approach to make everything complementary. And that is how that Professor Xie's insights amplify today's learning. Thank you so much, Professor Xie. Next, I want to invite Professor Lin. She works as the classroom observer, as an expert to our classroom observation and giving us lots of wonderful feedback. Professor Lin, drawing on your classroom observation experiences during the program, what elements were most impactful for providing actionable feedback to educators? And how can this classroom observation protocols evolve to address emerging challenges in EMI teaching? Professor Lee.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for staying until the last session.
Thank
So
you.
give a big applause.
Thank you.
I need to let you know my background. I was the founding director of our international MBA program. Our first intake student is 2001. So basically, I have conducted EMI for more than 20 years. And, my student composition perhaps a little bit different from yours. Most of them are international students. Like this semester, I have 30 students from 13 different countries. I only have 5 local students. Okay, and I think the most challenging job for EMI in Taiwan is that teacher needs to speak English for a group of local students. Okay. This is a very challenging, but I will share with you the issues perhaps you all meet in your different classes, okay? And if I would like to say 2 words for the impactful element, the first one is engagement, okay? Engagement. And the second one is keep students busy in the class. Okay, that's the 2 words. And I want to let you know how I deal with the 3 issues. The first one is I have a group of over-aggressive international students. Okay, and the second one is a relatively quiet local student. And the third one is short span of student attention. Perhaps in the first 10 minutes, okay, but after 10 minutes, people begin to do a lot of different things. So I want to let you know how I deal with those issues. The first one is an over-aggressive international student, perhaps not necessarily international. At the beginning of my class, I would tell them, okay, this is an interactive class, but I would like you to participate, but you cannot make a speech, okay? I would like you to share, but don't make a speech. So I will limit the expression for about 1 to 2 minutes only. And I tell them, if I think your talk is too long, I'll just gradually walk toward you. If you notice that I'm walking toward you, it's about time you wrap up your expression. So that is how I deal with over-aggressive students. And for the second, that is the quiet local student. My EMI class, especially at undergraduate level, I have about half and half. Half of them local students are those who are intended to take exchange program. So they would like to join the class to experience how it looks like in an English-speaking environment. Most of their English are very, very good, but you know, that because of a group of very aggressive international students, they tend to be quiet. So what I do is that normally I have assignment. They have to do a pre-preparation before they come to the class, and they need to submit their assignment in written. By noon, a day before the class. So by then my TA will print out those assignments and I will read through and I know that which team does it better. So at the beginning of the class, and normally local students did better than international students because our local student tends to be work harder, but they not show a lot in the class, but they are actually working very hard. So I will just show, this team is doing a wonderful job, and I will just ask them to share how long did they prepare the assignment, and what did they do, and how did they collaborate with each other. So that provides them a chance of sharing, and they gain confidence, okay? And for the short span, I noticed that students tend to use their mobile phone. At the beginning, we have a rule that you can use mobile phone under the condition that the professor approve it, but I think it's no use. They like to use mobile phone. Okay, then I'll give you an assignment right in the class. I tell them that, okay, now I give you a topic, team, then use 30 minutes to research a project and generate a PowerPoint. So they need to use their mobile phone a lot and do a lot of teamwork. For example, in my social innovation class, I had a topic as a creative study. And one category is movie, and I tell, okay, since you already know the creative study, the award winner is this study, and how about Taiwan? How about the movie in Taiwan, who did a movie? At first, I worry a lot about whether they can produce presentable material within 30 minutes, but believe your student, they are very good, okay? And they produce, not only they have very, very rich content, but also beautiful PPT. And they work on their mobile phone and or notebook, and they can produce very good. Within 30 minutes discussion and preparation. So I think perhaps that is one of the things that you can try, because they like use mobile phone. Let them use. And they can, yeah, it's a very good tool. Also, I use a lot of group discussion. I ask them to sit by teams, and if I notice that someone is started to a little bit uneasy, I say, okay, 5 minutes break discussion. And among the group, give them 5 minutes, then okay, present, share. So you keep them busy all the time. And believe me, the teacher evaluation is good. Yeah, because you give them chance to participate.
Right.
I always advise, especially young professors, do not make too much speech. You are the facilitator. Student is the center, so let them play their role. You just facilitate. You just give topic for them to learn. And most of the time that they can learn the textbook contents at home. So that is why I ask them to do assignment first. Then they know those are hard contents. In the class, you invite their participation, use their knowledge and sharing and interacting. I keep on saying that. Learning from me is a little bit less. If you can learn from each other, it's a cross-learning. So I encourage them to do cross-learning a lot, and then they fulfill. They say, oh, in this class, I produce a lot. They are happy. They are always very engaged, and they are busy in the class. So my engagement, busy in the class, and then deal with 3 issues. Over aggressive, and then quiet, still, then short attention span. So that is my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Well, facilitation is basically engagement. How you put students at the center and keep them really busy. So you're actually engaging them with hands-on experiences that actually resonance to John Dewey's theory, right? We learn by doing. So that is actually the best policy. And I think what Professor Lin's insight also enlightened us is to know your students well, how she devotedly to look through with the students, learning to understand their students, and also understand that the truth is not always as it seems, right? Those students who be very capable speaking English in the classroom does not always
be the most hardworking students, then how could you let those hardworking students shine in the classroom? That is also something that you're creating inclusivity and also fairness in your classroom, so that the students understand that no matter what kind of attributes that they possess, they can be very different, right? We are unique in every way, but we can still be ourselves in the classroom to be really comfortable. My teacher always sees me as I am. So I think that is the key, and I think that is actually the principle that the maestro of teaching can provide us today. Thank you so much, Professor Ling. Thank you so much. Lastly, I would like to pass my question to Dr. Liu on behalf of NTNU. Professor Liu, from your engagement with the program and your broader expertise, what do you see as the greatest challenge in aligning EMI training with institutional goals? And what strategies could help bridge this gap effectively while sustaining long-term improvements in teaching quality? Professor Liu, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. This is a very difficult question. In fact, before I took my administrative job, I never thought about this question. Because I think this is, when it comes to institutional goals, it has nothing to do with me. Being a professor, I just need to take care of my classes. But after I took the administrative job, I started to realize that the institutional goals have a lot to do with whether you will benefit, whether you will be able to shine in your EMI class. So I'm going to share some of the insights that I learned from some of the hard lessons that I learned from my administrative job. First of all, I think this morning I had a conversation with Dr. Fan, and we were talking about the difference between incentives and compensation. Okay, as a teacher who wants to do EMI, of course the university would provide some kind of compensation policies for what, all the time and effort that we are doing. But think about the difference between compensation and incentives. Which one is more positive? Incentives, right? Compensation. Think about the money, the extra money that you will get. It doesn't reflect the amount of effort that you pay in order to make this happen. Do you agree? So I think this is the question that we need to convince ourselves, and also the answer that we need to provide to those future comers. Why am I doing this? Okay, why am I doing this? And it reminds me of my experience with my two kids. Dr. Ye started her EMI experiences more than 20 years ago. I started mine maybe 18 years ago as a professor in the English department. But if I had to set a high standard, my real EMI journey started with my kids. When they were 1 or 2 years old, I started my experiment with these two kids. And they stared at me and asked me, "Dad, why are we doing this?" And so I need to find a key in order to help them to establish that incentive. Now, later I found out that the incentive for the kids is, if you want to play the video game, you need to talk to me in English. Right, so you need to find the right key, helping your students to understand why you are doing this. And just to give a real life example, my friend from TSMC told me that even when they're having meeting with local colleagues, they have to do this in English. And in the beginning, they didn't get it. They asked their supervisor, there are no foreigners here, English-speaking, partners here. Why are we still doing this? Well, the rationale is very easy. They want to make sure that they have the capacity to communicate with someone using a foreign language without thinking too much. Okay, and they need to get prepared. So finding the incentive is very, very important. And second, we need to help the teacher to see that, of course, we know that teachers, they vary from each other in terms of their professional, their pedagogical skills, and also their English proficiency. But like one of the professors shared earlier this morning, we're not saying that language proficiency is not important, but it's important to focus on the thinking. Thinking is universal to all students, regardless of their proficiency level. And we all know that students come to our class with different English proficiency, but thinking is the common ground shared by all students. So instead of worrying about whether my English is good enough or whether their English is good enough, I think we need to have some kind of differentiated instruction strategies to foster different levels of thinking instead of being a translator, in which case you would just want to shoot yourself. You probably want to create a lesson that will drive your student to think. Some for those students who have better language skills, some for those with less or lower English proficiency skills. For those people who are more limited in their proficiency, perhaps all they need to do is to come up with some keywords, like Professor Lu shared early this morning. And for those people who are higher, perhaps they can do sentence sharing, so they can all find their place. So differentiated instruction and output all matters. And second, I think it's not just about quantitative change in their behavior. They also need to, we need to help the teacher to see it also involves qualitative change in their teaching. It's not about the translating what you taught in Chinese into English. You need to be more selective. You need to be more interactive, talking to your student, turning your class. The best 境界, I would say, for EMI is to turn an EMI course into an EMC, English as the medium for communication. Meaning that you should try to create two-way communication whenever appropriate. And I totally agree with Professor Lee, Professor Ye, and what the other experts mentioned earlier. The more that you give your student to express themselves, the more that they see their place. And I totally agree with them, putting them on the hot seat and making them busy all the time. So my philosophy for those people, training teachers who want to step into an EMI classroom is that creating a classroom that is linguistically manageable, but cognitively challenging. Okay, so that's something that I hold dear when I'm trying to do this to my students, but also when I'm doing this to my kids. And for and the second challenge as an administrator is that you always find a mismatch between training and practice. Training and practice. So collaboration with faculty members across disciplines matters. It's important. Earlier, one of my colleagues mentioned about the importance of peer observation. I don't know how you see the place of peer observation. It's definitely not an evaluation of your teaching skills. Every time that you interact with someone from a different discipline, I don't know whether you feel the same way. You get the aha moments from time to time. You were surprised that, for example, my first time stepping into a PE class, bilingual PE class, is the realization PE class is not just about getting your student to sweat. It can also involve them to think about how to position, how to pause in order to do well, in order to be the best. I know I only have 1 minute, I still have 100 points. And this leads to the next point. We don't have to share everything, right? We don't have to share everything. We need to make our role as minimal as possible. And the last thing I'd like to share with you is it's about the sustainability of EMI goals. We all universities are doing every kind of professional development for our students, for TAs, for students. But I think that talks, of course, will provide inspiration. But we also need to do something that is more sustainable. This is why our RCEMI is doing the PD community for such a long time, even after the off-site training program. Because, I like to quote what my advisor told me earlier. We were having a discussion with her about the TC program, about why we want to make it as extensive as possible. She was telling me that miracles won't happen. You won't just change your teaching philosophy in just 2 weeks, okay? And the same thing goes to your language proficiency. I remember one person told me that when it comes to academic language, no one is a native speaker. So that actually comforts me. If everyone is a non-native speaker, we don't need to worry too much about our language, okay? And so we need to create some kind of sustainable products. It could take the form of PD community. It could take the form of the books that our students can use even after they leave the classroom. We want to extend the learning for students and TA and professors beyond the classroom setting. Something that is sustainable, something that allows us to review even after we leave our own classroom. Okay, and of course, with the use of AI, we want to encourage faculty members, do not see language as your limitation. And we no longer have the skills to tell other people that English proficiency is our weakness. With AI, we can do a lot of things. What we need to think more is that how do we use AI to make a better and more exciting class? For example, and this is what I do in my class. Instead of asking my students not to use AI, and by the way, I found that English majors' writings and speakings become much better with the use of AI, so that I can better focus on the content. Okay? And instead of asking not to use the AI, whenever I ask them to do a discussion, I ask them to use AI to produce counterpoints. And they need to use they need to come up with a better case to defend themselves for the counterpoints provided by the AI, ChatGPT. Okay? So during the process of communicating with the AI, they are also empowering their thinking skills. And so I think AI stop us from giving us the excuse, or stop our students having the excuse for saying that English is our limitation. And in fact, if English is indeed your limitation, I think instead it could be your weapon as well. Simply because your English is not great, perhaps what we can do is to ask ourselves, how do we make our story short and sweet? I know I'm doing a counter negative example right now because I used over the time limit. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Liu. Well, what Dr. enlightened us is to work smart. He provides lots of tips and strategies that we can use in the classroom, especially in the expertise of language experts, which is definitely wonderful. He also reminds us to leverage all kinds of understanding we have to know our students, and also to leverage, also to orchestrate with the AI, with the mentorship, with the teaching practices, which resonates to the topic that we have today. I think the most important message that he's giving us today is to make EMI sustainable. And I think that is something that we should always keep in mind. You graduated from the professional development program today. Congratulations. But this is not an end. This is just a starting point for your wonderful journey, and make sure that you work with NTNU RC EMI together. So togetherly we are interweaving a fabric altogether that can be sustainable, that can be rewarding. Through the journey, we realize our mission and vision of education, and we are also being fulfilled with those sense of achievement along the way. And I think that is the main purpose that we are sitting here. Thank you very much for your effort and input. Thank you, experts. Thank you.